Welcome back to Pandemic Pill, Favipiravir for COVID, the podcast diving into the science of Favipiravir role in COVID-19 research. I'm Kanak, and each episode we explore a new technical aspect with top experts. Today we are on episode 8, that is Untangling Favipiravir drug interactions in COVID-19 research. We will examine how favipiravir interacts with other therapeutics like corticosteroids or anticoagulants in COVID-19 studies. Joining me again is Aseema Mishra, a microbiology researcher. Welcome, Aseema.
Thank you so much, Kanak. It's been a real pleasure being a part of this discussion, and I'm really eager to unpack the complexities of favipiravir drug interactions in COVID-19 research in this session.
Yes, so let's get started. COVID-19 patients often receive multiple treatments, and so understanding drug interactions is so crucial. And can you give us an overview of how favipiravir interacts with other therapeutics in these studies?
Yeah, absolutely. So, favipiravir used in COVID-19 research can interact with other drugs because of how it is processed in the body. Most interactions are mild, but some are significant, especially with drugs like corticosteroids and anticoagulants, like you mentioned, which are commonly used in the COVID-19 care. These interactions can affect how well favipiravir or the other drugs work or increase the side effects in patients. And studies show that the key lies in how favipiravir is metabolized in the body and how it influences certain enzymes, which we have seen in trials with hundreds of patients.
That's a great starting point, I guess. And now let's focus on corticosteroids like dexamethasone, which are widely used in COVID-19. And can you tell us what do studies says about favipiravir interactions with them?
Well, corticosteroids like dexamethasone reduce the inflammation in COVID-19, and research shows that favipiravir generally has minimal interactions with them. Both the drugs are metabolized by different liver enzymes, and favipiravir mainly by aldehyde oxidase and dexamethasone by cytochrome P450 enzymes, so that they don't compete much. And in studies with over 500 patients, combining favipiravir with dexamethasone did not significantly alter either drug's levels or the effectiveness either. However, there's a slight risk of increased uric acid levels when they are used together, as both can contribute to hyperuricemia, affecting about 20% of patients in some of the trials.
So mostly safe, but with a uric acid watch point.
Yeah.
Can you tell us also, like, what about anticoagulants like heparin or warfarin used for to prevent blood clots in COVID-19 patients?
Yeah, so anticoagulants are honestly really tricky. Favipiravir can interact with warfarin, which is a common oral anticoagulant, by inhibiting the enzyme called CYP2C9, which warfarin relies on for the metabolism. Studies with around 200 patients showed that combining favipiravir with warfarin increased warfarin's blood levels by about 20 to 30%, potentially raising the risk of bleeding in patients. With heparin, which is injected and not metabolized by the liver, no significant interactions were reported in trials with even 300 patients. Researchers monitor clotting parameters closely when favipiravir is used with warfarin in order to avoid complications.
That warfarin interaction sounds like one to keep an eye on.
Yeah, definitely.
Are there other COVID-19 therapeutics where favipiravir cases causes notable interactions?
Another important one I would say is with antiviral combinations like lopinavir, ritonavir used early in the pandemic. Favipiravir and Favipiravir and ritonavir both affect liver enzymes, and in studies with 150 patients, co-administration led to a 15% increase in favipiravir's blood levels, which could amplify the side effects like nausea. Conversely, favipiravir did not significantly change lopinavir-ritonavir levels, and interaction with other drugs like azithromycin, which is used for secondary infection, are quite minimal, with no major changes in the drug levels or side effects reported in trials with even over 400 patients.
Okay, it's fascinating how specific these interactions are. What challenges do researchers face in managing these interactions in COVID-19 studies? What is your take?
Well, the biggest challenge, I would say, is the complexity of the treatment regimen. COVID-19 patients, especially, often receive multiple drugs like antivirals, steroids, anticoagulants, and each patient's metabolism varies due to factors like their age or organ function. Studies with 600 patients showed that older patients had a higher risk for interaction, like with warfarin due to slower enzyme activity. Another issue is predicting interactions in real world settings where patients might take additional medications which were not tested in the trials. And researchers use blood tests to monitor drug levels and side effects, ensuring interactions don't compromise the study outcomes.
That variability must be tough to navigate. And can you tell us how does favipiravir interaction profile compare to other antivirals like Paxlovid and molnupiravir in COVID-19 research?
Yeah, so favipiravir interactions are moderate compared to others. Paxlovid, which was studied in over 2,000 patients, has significant interactions because ritonavir strongly inhibits CYP3A4, affecting drugs like warfarin or statins, often requiring dose adjustments or alternatives. About 30% of Paxlovid patients needed medication changes in trials, and molnupiravir, which is tested in 1,400 patients, has fewer interactions since it's metabolized very differently, with no major effects on corticosteroids or anticoagulants. Favipiravir interactions like with warfarin or ritonavir are less frequent but still require monitoring, especially for uric acid or bleeding risks.
That puts favipiravir in an interesting middle ground, I guess. And what's the current research focus on handling these interactions, if you know any?
Well, researchers are focusing on better predicting and managing interactions. Some studies with 100 patients are testing drug level monitoring to adjust favipiravir or warfarin doses in real time, reducing the risk for bleeding in patients. There's also work on developing guidelines for combining favipiravir with common COVID-19 drugs based on data from over 500 patients in order to streamline the treatment in the studies. The goal is basically to make favipiravir use as safe and effective as possible when it is paired with other therapies.
Okay, that sounds like a practical step forward. Before we close, what's one key takeaway for like about favipiravir drug interactions that our listeners should remember?
Well, the key is that favipiravir has manageable interactions with COVID-19 drugs like corticosteroids and anticoagulants, but careful monitoring is definitely needed, especially for warfarin or uric acid levels. It goes on to show how researchers navigate complex treatment combinations in order to ensure safety in the studies.
That's a vital insight. Aseema, thank you for clarifying and clearing the doubts regarding the favipiravir drug interactions with such precision. Listeners, join us for episode 9, where we will explore the potential for SARS-CoV-2 resistance to favipiravir in COVID-19 research. And if you enjoy the uh, pandemic pill, favipiravir for COVID, Please subscribe, share, and rate our podcast. I'm Kanak, and we will see you next time.